I'm the other guy that you're probably talking about that got a letter from the city saying I was running a business out of my house. But before I get into that, the last city council meeting, Ms. Priscorn questioned Mr. Backus about his questions. He was stating that he's having a hard time reading and some were unclear. I thought these council meetings were informal meetings of a small city. I didn't think we were going to be criticized for the grammar or the way we pronounce things.
I think, no, I'm not going to respond. Go ahead.
Okay. It wasn't to you anyway. It was to Ms. Priscorn. Now, I've been living in this city for 35 years. My kids went to the schools. My wife and myself have volunteered for school recreation programs. And now I can come say here lately that I've been coming here lately with my concerns about the taxes and in the city. Months ago, I questioned the city's need for an ordinance officer. Now, after 29 years of business, I'm getting a letter stating that I was using my home to run a business. I wrote a letter back stating I did not run a business out of my house, but the letter that I did send, we did use an old envelope that I bought these about 10 years ago, and it was a monogrammed envelope, and it did have an address on there of an apartment building I own. 2 weeks later, there's an enforcement officer and a building inspector outside the apartment building in the parking lot, told the guests that they're waiting for William Prucknick to give him a ticket because he was operating a business out of there. And they said that somebody from the city of Riverview made a complaint. So now I'm getting sent letters from the city of Wyandotte telling me that I have a business operated there. I don't have a business operated there. These are old envelopes.
And you don't have one operating on Churchill?
No, I do not operate a business out of my house, no.
You do not? Okay. No business operations. You
No.
don't use that address for anything?
I use my address as my home, but I have mail.
But you don't use that for checking accounts, state of Michigan, tax records, IRS?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
But it has never been a problem up till now.
Well, he gave 14 other people the same letter.
And two of them have been coming to the council meetings.
14 other people, and Judy, I think most of them came in and complied, didn't they? Okay, so
like I say, if that's
Mr. Prucknick, if you came in and said the two of you just got a notice or warrant or whatever, and nobody else did, I would honestly guarantee, I would believe you 100% that he's picking on you, but he's not. He's cracking down. He's not cracking down. He's enforcing what the existing rules are. As a matter of fact, he's visited some businesses, commercial businesses that did not have business licenses in the last few weeks. So it's for you to say that he's selecting you is incorrect. You may feel that way, but that's not correct.
But he did go to my apartment building. Why would he do that?
You have to ask him. I'm not involved in the. As long as you've now indicated here on public record that you do not operate a business at that home.
I do not.
Okay,
correct.
Then he'll continue his investigation, and everything's on record now.
Okay, great. That's fine. So all I do want to say is that if anybody here in the city thinks that they're going to come to the council meetings and not have to worry about backlash or harassment, then I'm here to say differently, because I'm sure that's what this is. This isn't a coincidence. I've talked to other people that I do know that have the same type of situation I have, where they do get their mail sent to their house or somewhere else, but they don't operate a business out of it.
You have to have an address for a business. You have to.
That might be.
Well, I'm just telling you.
I don't operate a business.
You have. I'm not going to argue with you, because that's between you and the ordinance officer and the court. If you so desired, they determine that they think you own a business out of your house. Your definition of operating out of your house and the legal description of operating your house may be two different things. Correct, Mr. Pentuck?
Right.
But I'm not. That's not for me and you to argue about.
But see, this is what we got to this ordinance officer. When was the ordinance officer hired?
He's been here for about 5 years.
5 years.
4 years.
4 years. Okay. The state of Michigan's been in a recession for 10 years, but we hired an ordinance officer. Did you hire the ordinance officer because the people of the city insisted on an ordinance officer?
We shifted some responsibilities. Went from full-time to part-time. He receives a part-time salary and no benefits.
But
and Mr. Prucknick, just before I know it's your time, but Mr. Backus probably want to comment too. I asked for a report. When Mr. Workman took over in 2004, we had 77 full-time equivalents employees in the city. I'm sorry, 104 full-time equivalents. We now have 77, a reduction of over 25% in staffing. And many of those were full-time replaced by part-time without benefits, and that is, Mr. Lammers is one of those.
But who did the code enforcement before we had a code enforcement officer?
Mr. Cunningham, who was the ACO, who really spent most of his time on animal control and was not really emphasizing code enforcement. One of the things we did in the last 2 years, if you paid attention to our meetings, we've gone on record as saying, with this recession, we have so many rental homes in this city, so many foreclosures, and so many residents fearful of the condition of their neighborhoods going down, that we've asked Mr. Lammers and our PD and the DPW to be aware of any situations where the conditions of a neighborhood may be going down by that. And that's one of the reasons he is being very strict. And I went out with him yesterday. He showed me so many rental homes where people aren't taking care of them and doing a lot of different things where he's trying to stay on top of them. And I know a lot of people are not pleased with him, but you know what? For every person he makes mad, he makes 100 neighbors happy. So, and you know,
okay, well, you know, and you have your side of the story.
And you know what? And if you don't want your neighborhood well kept and well maintained, and somebody staying on that, then just let me know.
Our neighborhood was fine 10 years ago before we had an enforcement officer.
Well, you know what? You got a foreclosed house right next to you or near you, from what I understand.
Right. The woman died.
Well, okay, is the house empty?
Yes.
Well, you know what? 10 years ago, that house would have been swooped up and filled up in no time. Now they're staying empty. Now a lot of them are deteriorating, and he's staying on top of them.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with people supposedly running a home business out of their home?
Because we have rules.
The rules were there 10 years ago.
Now, how come the person on Fort Street has to get a business license, but the person on Wedgwood Street doesn't have to get a license?
If you operate a business out of your truck, why do you have to have a business operating out of your house?
If you use illegal, I'm not going to argue the semantics of the whole thing.
Your Honor.
That's a dispute that you guys can continue.
Your Honor, if he's legal, he's legal. If he's not legal, then,
that's right.
then he has
that's
to.
Exactly right. And you know what? With Mr. Toll's situation with the sign, I get so many complaints about this. We've ignored it. We let it go. Let the judge make the decision. If he says he can have it, God love him, he can have it. I've at least gone to bat for the neighbors and the residents of this city who doesn't think it complies. Sit down, please. I do not want you to respond, sir. No, you know what? Go ahead.
That's it.
Okay.
See you next month.